that we have really strong projects together, you can not only get OORT's token, but essentially, hypothetically, and potentially our other partners' tokens.
Wow.
So that becomes really sustainable in the long run.
That's the alpha there for you guys. Welcome to this particular episode of Building Useful Shit, where we talk about everything HumanAIx. Now, if you guys aren't too familiar with it, it's basically an alliance that the OORT team had actually unveiled back in February of this year. Now, they are involved with everything decentralized AI, and today is a very important episode. Why? Because we actually have the chairman of the OORT Foundation, Mike Robinson. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today and actually taking the time out to speak with us. We understand your schedule is super stacked with this entire week of events throughout Dubai. Tell us, how you been?
I've been fantastic. Nick, it's always good seeing you.
Likewise.
I'm happy to be here to spread the message, as we call it, the gospel of DEAI.
All right, look, I have a very important question to ask.
Sure.
And how I generally like to explain this to my wife when I had to explain what HumanAIx was.
Sure.
I told her that look at HumanAIx as the Avengers, all right? And OORT is Captain America. So, what I'm asking you today is tell us the origin story. How did all of this come about?
Okay, so this is a very interesting concept, right? We've been mulling over ways that we can create impact in the AI space, especially from the decentralized approach. So we have this real cool flagship DApp by the name of DataHub, and it's essentially crowdsourcing data collection, data labeling. However, what we're seeing in the market when it comes to AI was that it's becoming there's a lot of opacity, right? And the humans are basically outside of the loop, right? So we thought the best approach to this is creating an alliance that would, in a WAGMI approach, highlight some of the leaders in the space and their technology, remove the fragmentation, create interoperability, and bring humans back into the loop to participate in the entire, or to play a role in the data lifecycle, right? And that should help compensate, as there's now a scarcity, a prediction of scarcity on data. You can now get people across the world to, help with the data contribution. And I think that this is going to be big. Actually, I'm looking at this as one of the potentially greatest benefits to our generation in this technological age, because AI is soon to play a role in all of our lives. And it's so new a concept that it's really the Wild Wild West. The developments are I thought crypto moved quickly. AI is trumping that by a more swift pace, right? Back in the days, I prided myself on just being a researcher. That's how I really got into the technology space and identifying opportunities before they go mainstream. So the news cycle, average news cycle would be 7 days a story would last, right? And you can, review and mull over that for a couple of days, right? But nowadays, I think it was 2016 when I started seeing the ramp up, the average news cycle is 5 minutes. So there's a lot that's taking place. It's effectively overwhelming, and a lot of data is being created. I think most of the data was created, I did some research on this, 80% of data that's currently on the market was created during COVID.
That's an interesting stat.
So what we're seeing now, I call it the technologification of society.
Right.
And we are very cognizant about transparency and humanity. And this could potentially be crypto or Web3's magnum opus or call to humanity, right?
Yeah, I love that you say, keeping humans in the loop. We've all realized at this point of time that, communities are so important, when it comes to, especially when it comes to building out decentralized AI, I would imagine. How would someone how would we sort of add value in helping you guys build out decentralized AI? How do we play our role?
So when you say we, do you mean?
As in communities.
Okay,
Yeah.
communities. Yeah. So what we want the communities to do is we want community members to now participate in utilizing the current AI agents that are on the market, right? You'll start seeing challenges there. You're going to start seeing like biases, censorship, right? And this is prominent amongst like the leading AI agents. Right. Keep in mind, right, which is I find really interesting that the AI agent proliferation really started 2 years ago. Yeah. It launched with ChatGPT from OpenAI in like February of 2023. Then we just started seeing the proliferation right afterwards. Yeah. There's an agent for everything coming out, right? And the prediction is in the future, you will need an agent for basically each vertical of your life or lifestyle. You most likely use an agent for your fitness. True. Right? For your wardrobe.
Guilty.
And so on and so forth. News, that kind of thing. So we want community members to participate by staying in the loop, in the know, because this is going to be very helpful as AI becomes a fundamental experience in the human life. Our community members would be able to give us feedback in real time. We want them to play a role in what's about to take place, unfold as far as HumanAIx. And we also want them to contribute, right? Our goal is to get people across the world. Everyone has a cell phone. True. Nowadays. I'm Jamaican, so when I go back to Jamaica, you might not have a laptop, but you got 1 or 2 cell phones, right? And you find that to be the case in many emerging markets. So that now allows you the access to AI agents, AI in general, but then also what we're building at HumanAIx, and you can become this data contributor, and you get incentivized to do so. However, you can start providing feedback on things that you care to see, challenges that you're noticing in the space, because this is going to be a collective lift, not just the builders. Right. You're now playing a role as a community member, integral role in the building and the direction of where we take AI.
That's interesting. When you touched upon the topic of incentivization, look, my question over here is more in line with, is there some sort of a model that you guys are already involved with developing in terms of, keeping a sustainable incentivization or rewarding process?
Sure. So we are, now that we're making this more interoperable, you think of it from like OORT. This is really an OORT pushed initiative. And DataHub is really our flagship experience, right? So we wanted to make this much larger, and we are creating this ecosystem model with our other founding members, which are also other top Web3 projects in the space. So we can actually create layers of incentives, right? Whether that is a token incentive, whether those are points as well. But you're not only going to be receiving OORT as the incentive. I think what's really cool is that you're able to get incentivized in real time because it's on chain. You receive it in your wallet, right? Yeah. The points as well. And now that we have really strong projects together, you can not only get OORT's token, but essentially, hypothetically, and potentially our other partners' tokens. Wow. So that becomes really sustainable in the long run.
That's the alpha there for you guys. All right.
Yeah. And trust me, what's really interesting about this too, Nick, and everyone that's out there, is we are getting bombarded with interest from like leading projects in the space.
Wow. Look, the last time I checked, I know there was probably 13 projects that are within this alliance. My question here is, what are some of the projects that you would really like to work with?
Well, that just continues to grow because like this, I find really interesting. is the technology space. It's very expansive, especially now that you're in AI, right? Yeah. It becomes even like more larger, the opportunity, because we can potentially work with Web 2 projects, and we can work with the Web 3 projects. One in particular I was really interested in, and I just finished meeting with Han, the founder of Blue Whale, and it's an L3. And like, I was in the past, I would be skeptical of L3s, right? Like, you got a layer 1, now you got an L2. I've heard of like layer 2.5, but the L3, that concept was brilliant because he calls it an orchestration layer. So there's a lot of fragmentation in the Web3 space. One protocol is working on this, a chain is doing that, a dApp is doing this, but now all of them can be integrated into Blue Whale and made accessible to the market.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool. We recently partnered with Aether as well for their AI Unbundled alliance with, essentially it's a decentralized AI alliance as well. So I just love that in Web3 we're coming together, everyone's seeing the challenge that's coming down the pike, and the just belief that our technology is going to play a fundamental role in the future of AI is very refreshing.
Interesting. Look, I'd asked this question to Dr. Lee when I had interviewed him on our channel a couple of months ago, and I asked him how far into the future do you see, decentralized AI becoming, or sort of taking precedence and becoming relevant, so to speak? We're definitely seeing the relevance part come to light, all right? My question here is, what are your thoughts in terms of, what are you looking at when it comes to decentralized AI in terms of sort of superseding centralized AI in terms of being more valuable? How far do you see that happening? Or is it already happening?
It's a very good question, because I see that taking place right now, right? Okay, so several examples. One, recently, News Research, they're like a Web 2 AI amalgamation of people that met on Discord that are like tackling research in AI. They are now rolling out a decentralized AI concept for machine learning. They recently got an investment from Paradigm for like 50 million.
Wow.
Validation, right? In what we are doing. And that's like as recent as like last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? So it's like, yes, we are validated, right? But then like continuing, so just recently, I'm also a VC and connected to some really cool friends that are like old Wall Street, basically like mentors, but they know where I am in the Web3 and AI space, and now AI has become a big deal. Just recently, one of my good friends from Wall Street reached out to me about an opportunity that they had with one of the monoliths in the AI agent space, an opportunity they're fundraising for, right? And I shared my challenges with this because the ticket was a large number. I thought, closed source technology, as far as the AI model is concerned, is a massive challenge. Plus, there's a lot of bloat in the market as well, i.e. DeepSeek showed that up. And I didn't really see much of an opportunity in what he shared, but him being my friend and me having access, I made sure to share this within our inner circle, just people that are leaders in the AI space. And the feedback was basically, we're not interested because it's closed, bloated, closed source model, it's bloated as well, the market. And we believe that decentralized AI is going to be the key. And this is coming from academicians at the institutional level, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so we're in a very, I think, cool, newfound interest, right? Cool might not be the right word. For me, it's cool, right? But it's like a really intriguing time. Compelling should probably be the best word. Time for AI. Because, okay, what we see, and I think Balaji said this, and it was a brilliant, he said it at Super AI last year, that you're seeing a top-down AI was built from the institutions in academia, and bottom up, crypto is led by, like people like us, and we're building that
That's
up.
so true.
But there's a convergence coming, a natural convergence, right? In AI, which you're going to need the blockchain for transparency.
Interesting.
Right? Provenance, right? Where AI proliferates, right?
Yeah.
You can now use the chain to timestamp where that detail come from, like that information, the data comes from. And you can see where there was bad data, where there was good data, where someone updated, uploaded information. I think that's going to be very cool. And in the future, just recently, Google launched its A2A, agent-to-agent concept. I think that's going to be big. But then for agents to complete a task, I think in the future they'll get paid in crypto.
Correct.
Naturally, right? So the things are aligning and we are ahead of this space. What's really cool is there is no literature on decentralized AI. And now HumanAIx and OORT and, our alliance members in Aether, right? AI Unbundled, we're all building this out.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a cool legacy.
Look, right before this interview, you mentioned something to the extent of, decentralized AI being that stage where Bitcoin was back in 2009. In terms of regulation, such a brand new topic of discussion, a hot topic, I'd say. What are your thoughts here? I mean, where do we go from here when it comes to decentralized AI, especially when we see all of this, cool tech being built out in real time? How do we navigate that space, really?
So, in each region, I think there's going to be new data regulations, maybe at the state level, right? And then at the local level, that's going to be necessary. Plus, there's this new concept of basically biological data, right? Because you can take, medication that can actually now inform you on things that are taking place internally, right? I want to keep this as layman's as possible so everyone can understand.
Absolutely.
But then where does the data go? How does the data get stored? So these are challenges that we're going to see coming down the pike. The technologification of society, where you're going to be interacting a lot with tech, which we are already doing right now. So what is data? It's anytime you interact with technology, new data sets are created, right? So the concept of regulation, I think it's going to be extremely dynamic because there's so much that's happening and is so quickly taking place. I think decentralized AI, that should add a little bit more of a transparent layer. But I think there's probably going to be like the equivalent of intranet and internet. When I was growing up, when I was a little boy, but I remember when you had the internet, right? But that was like for internal services for like B2B or businesses internally, right? And then you had the internet, which is what everybody used. So internally, at like my internship, we had an intranet network that we use. And I don't think the internet really took off like the internet. And that's what I'm thinking is going to be taking place once again.
Wow.
So decentralized AI becomes like the internet and these closed source becomes like the intranet. Yeah, so.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting perspective. I love Web3 because, it's always found a way to be convenient, in the sense that it's building out so rapidly that, maybe 5 years ago, a wallet wasn't as easy as it is to use today, or trading wasn't as easy as it is today in terms of me being able to trade on Telegram, for example. So there's always been this factor of convenience. My question here is, in line with HumanAIx, how do we see, well, more in line with builders per se, how do we see builders sort of build on y'all's infrastructure become easier with time?
So you'd think of HumanAIx as an open protocol, right? So we want to provide access. We are basically giving people across the world the tools to, engage in this build out. So the approach that we've done and are currently mapping out, the technical roadmap is being put together at this moment, but I can give you a bit of insight.
Absolutely.
You'd have like a nice UI UX that's going to be easily navigatable, but behind the scenes, you have a open protocol for essential like GPU, CPU. You can get retail to connect, right? Or you could get data centers to connect. Decentralized storage. We have a partnership currently with Storage.J, and it's us and Storage.J, our decentralized storage. That's the current offering. But in the future, as Web3 storage, decentralized storage becomes a bit more prominent and more opportunities down that pike, they can also plug in, right? And then we also have what's called the data protocol, and that's where, data contributors or projects that have large communities and community members from across the world. If you're just a regular person that just wants to participate, you can now plug into this and access and also help contribute and label, get paid for data. So we are making this as expansive and ecosystem as possible. What's really cool, I must highlight, is also data secure. We, on the foundation side, just recently granted the first grant of the year to Data Secure Basu, and we love what he's building. So it's the first of its kind verification layer, OVF, Open Validation Framework. So developers from across the world can now participate in quality assurance of data through a liquid staking strategy. So
that's pretty incredible.
And it's going to continue to scale, right? We have really created this concept of the North Star for this is standardization, interoperability, and a bit of Bitcoin values. Transparency, permissionless, scalable, and verifiable. So we're really excited about this.
That is exciting. Look, a bit of a fun one for you, Mike. What does Mike Robinson want to see when it comes to decentralized AI? What does Mike Robinson want to see being built out, or sort of decentralized AI taking shape into over this next decade? What would you want to see?
Because you said decade, I'm thinking this generation and the generation after.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So this is really our opportunity to leave a lasting legacy for the generations to come. I think AI is going to play a huge role in our current lives, right, moving forward. And I was reading, I can't remember the book, but it was written by Eric Schmidt and Henry Kissinger. And they're saying that the future is going to be, they're concerned that the future might be a two-tiered society. Those that are programmed by AI and those that program AI. Right? So we want to essentially have HumanAIx balance, bring a balance to that potential dystopian future. Right? I think humanity is at a crossroads with this technologification of society, which is we can either prolong freedom or we can create a perpetual jail cell, right? Whether that is a thought or, your actions, technology should be a boon to humanity and not our detriment. So the decentralized AI concept is our way of preserving freedom and just giving you as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of the bias and the censorship. So the more informed you are, the better you can make a decision for yourself, your family, and do well in life.
I love that whole analogy of the two-tiered society. In fact, recently while speaking with Aikido, in fact, one of the Alliance members, I remember reading on their website stating that 70% of jobs in the future are going to involve some element of AI, So there you go,
Well, if you really think about it, AI is coming for everybody's job. So essentially, the job market, it might become non-existent. So now you're seeing, and I used to look at this concept and I thought there's no way you can implement it, but now I'm seeing this coming down the pike. And I've seen it a couple times at crypto events. UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Yeah.
So because AI is going to take everybody's jobs, we need to have a universal basic income established so people can stay happy, right? And maintain a lifestyle. And I'm just like, I think we can fix this with decentralized AI, providing jobs, where people would be paid a fair, wage for participating in our ecosystem as a data contributor. I could be very ambitious in that thought because, this is very dynamic. Every day I have to add to my mental model with new updates that's taking place, right? And right now with the mental modeling that I'm seeing, I still see UBI being a tough pill to swallow, but there could be an opportunity where a pocket of humanity would take that, and then we can get a pocket of humanity to also participate in what we have.
Yeah.
And that would be a real cool role, You're basically an entrepreneur, right? Helping create and label data and train AI. I think the opportunity is AI at this moment. I remember when I was first coming to the States, I was 10 when I moved to America. And for the first time, I started interacting with a computer. I came from Jamaica. And this was like during elementary school. And this was my first time messing around with the internet. And I was just taken back by it. I said, look, I had a serious talk with myself at 10. I said, there's no way we're missing the next big opportunity like this, because you got to remember, this whole concept of internet was new to me, and the whole computer, right? So I said, no way, I'm going to miss this opportunity. And the next opportunity that came was Bitcoin. Saw that, and I said, I got you. Right? I loved Bitcoin because it validated some of my thoughts, and then also it was the opportunity for me to see the world at a much larger level. Because of Bitcoin, we are connected, right? The amount of people that I've met now because of Bitcoin that I would have never met in my life, right? It's attributed to Bitcoin. These friends that I have on Wall Street, that's because of Bitcoin. They're interested in learning more about it, right? And I'm very close to it. But now I think what's even bigger than Bitcoin is AI. Might even be bigger than the internet. Who knows? But the opportunity is there, and we want people across the world to participate.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be left out. Now I don't want the world to be left out. Come on.
All right, Mike, final question for you. I remember the last time we spoke, this was right before, the US elections. I know this is slightly off topic, but I want to get your thoughts on, with Trump coming into, the scene, being the first Bitcoin president, or the crypto president rather. What are your thoughts here overall when it comes to the state of crypto in general?
So I think it's very bullish, but also concerning.
Yeah.
Just looking at what's taking place. All right, let's highlight a few key things.
Yeah.
We have Elon Musk now as the Department of Government Efficiency.
Doge, yep.
Doge is also what,
Yep.
the largest meme coin in the space?
Correct.
In the crypto space. So essentially that's an imprint on the psyche of what I call normies, but yeah, regular people. Right, and you hear it now, Doge, everywhere.
Yeah.
When I'm in the States, like the news coverage on Doge is crazy.
Yeah.
So everybody's talking about Doge. Majority of them don't know they're talking about the meme coin.
True.
And that was his play.
plan. Yeah.
Exactly. So then you also have a crypto czar in David Sachs. I think he's extremely intelligent. He was one of my favorite on the All In podcast. I would love listening to David Sachs because he's kind of like me, a contrarian. And he was just really intelligent. So I think he could be very helpful with the crypto rollout in the States. But then you also recently had the first crypto summit at the White House.
Yep.
Now, neither here nor there, I'm not a big fan of meme coins.
Yeah.
I think they're very extractive of value. And to see Trump launch a meme coin, that was disheartening, right? Yeah. But I guess you could say, that's offset by his releasing Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
But still, that meme coin was, I don't know if I could ever forgive him for that one. Yeah, but yeah, so
The president rugged us.
that's what people are saying, and I'm just like, why did you do that? Because now you're in the rug conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong conversation. You like to play on words, the rug conversation, the wrong. So yeah, I'm very bullish on where we're headed. I do see a push now into a digital economy. So the way I'm looking at the markets is like Trump is burning down the old and erecting a new in front of our eyes.
Right.
And it's very telling. So we're in the right place at the right time, being in the Web3 space. But now all the funding that's going into America for the data centers,
Right.
the AI, the LLMs, right, the models that are being created, I think this is a very strong opportunity for decentralized AI.
Wow.
Because it's going to be very necessary, right? AI is going to take many people's jobs at the software and hardware level. You probably have robots that are attached to data centers that can do whatever it is that you can do, right? In the future, and we want to protect that. Whatever we can do to protect that through decentralized AI.
Look, Mike, thank you so much for spending this time over here with us and just giving us a little bit of an insight into, what you guys have been doing at HumanAIx. Thank you once again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
If you guys enjoyed this video, do make sure to like, share, subscribe. Do make sure to comment in the comment section below and let us know what you guys are thinking. Tell us a little bit about what y'all have on y'all's mind. And as usual, we'll see you guys in our next episode.